Portable gaming has kind of seen a resurgence over the last few years. With the Steam Deck, PlayStation Portal and Switch 2, every gamer out there either owns or has thought about picking up one gaming handheld device in some form or another. You can either get something that can run games natively like the ROG Ally or Switch, or perhaps be at the whim of your internet and location and play games remotely on devices such as the PlayStation Portal or this abxylute One device. The abxylute One is a remote playing device, meaning it relies entirely on your internet to function. You also need to be living in a location that supports cloud gaming. There are some native functionalities on board here, but they are very limited. More on that later. So remote gaming is the biggest selling point of this unit. Remote gaming does have its own perks while at the same time its own downsides. First off, very few platforms do remote streaming well. Steam of course is the best with Steam Link support. It packs incredibly high bitrate support, frame rates, resolutions and even HDR across supported devices. Then you get the PlayStation Portal. That is a great product, but its streaming quality is likely the worst on the market. The low bitrate and the input lag really make this device look and feel cumbersome. Remote gaming is also limited to your location. In South Africa, where I'm based, cloud gaming is seen as something of the future, a perk that we'll honestly likely never get. So we are restricted to local streaming. This means there's very limited GeForce Now support, no Xbox cloud gaming, and even the PlayStation Portal is limited to streaming from your console and only from your console. The abxylute One, while relying mostly on remote gaming, does marry the best of all platforms into one. In a perfect world, it does cloud gaming while at the same time links to your PC and PS5 for remote gaming. So instead of owning a PlayStation Portal for PS5 and another remote play device like the Logitech G Cloud for your Steam games, you can just get this product. From the outside, the abxylute One looks like your average portable gaming handheld device. It has a large 7-inch 1080p 60Hz display, a rather flat and thin design, and the front is covered in buttons. The joysticks are Hall sensor, and the entire device weighs only 430 grams. I have to say that I enjoyed the overall look and feel of the abxylute One. It might not be the most comfortable handheld around, but its thin body and large screen was great to see on a product that costs 5,000 Rand. I say the device is thin, but it does have a decent amount of grip on the back as well, and curves to support your hands while gaming. The trigger buttons make up the side bumps, and the heightened side grips travel all the way down the device to the bottom. The abxylute One is also packed with ports and features. It has a micro SD card slot, uses USB-C for charging the 5200 mAh battery, packs stereo speakers, an audio jack combo, and the right amount of buttons all around the device. The D-pad was especially nice to see given the possible focus on emulation. The additional options and settings buttons also means it will easily support whatever platform you're streaming from. I did wish that the volume rocker was a bit more to the right hand side of the top of the device, and perhaps swapped around with the on and off button. I kind of feel like I really had to reach to adjust the volume on the device. This is likely my only issue with the build. That and the white bottle just gets dirty. I got it from another media site who reviewed this device before me, and it was horribly dirty. It runs a special skinned version of Android 12, but unlike the PS Portal, which also runs Android, it isn't limited to the special abxylute One UI that is overlaid over the OS. You can install apps here and take advantage of all the APKs and open source opportunities that come with Android. Inside the abxylute One, you'll get 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. The micro SD card slot can then be used to expand this, but I can't see any reason for this unless you're downloading hundreds of ROMs for the emulation. That leads to my next point. The abxylute One packs the MediaTek MT8365 processor with a 2.0GHz 4-core CPU. On paper, this isn't a very powerful chip, so you can expect a rather basic experience across all onboard features. This means that the unit can often feel sluggish with the UI lagging and freezing. I had menus feel unresponsive at times when I was trying to launch a basic streaming app. The same experience then naturally stems to the native support for games and apps. Emulation is possible on the abxylute One, but it is limited to much older basic platforms. So you'll be able to play Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo DS games for sure. Some later 3D hardware like PlayStation and Nintendo 64 and 3DS also work quite well. However, moving towards anything more 3D intensive such as GameCube and PS2 is a hit or miss at times. PSP games from my testing ran at around 30 FPS during busy scenes. Ratchet & Clank Size Matters was a mostly stable experience at 30 FPS, but God of War Ghost of Sparta did struggle. GameCube was a similar experience, games stuttered and just didn't work. But I will say that PSP games were likely the cap here, as the low settings on the PPSSPP emulator did provide some decent performance. The brand is working on a new abxylute 1 Pro device that claims to be the best for emulation, but the company hasn't shared exactly what chip the so-called new upgraded model would include. The website simply states it supports PPSSPP, Dolphin and Drastic. It delivers significantly improved emulation according to the website, but until we see how improved, I can't say whether or not it will be worth it, especially considering this Pro model will retail for the same price as the non-Pro model. If emulation isn't your thing, the abxylute 1 works quite well with remote play. I played a lot of Steam Link and games streamed to the handheld with 23 milliseconds of input lag and an incoming bitrate of 35,000 kilobytes per second and a video bitrate of 28,000 kilobytes per second. This was on the 1080p enhanced setting. I did have an occasional static here and there, which is strange given it was only on 1080p enhanced. I was impressed by the PlayStation Remote app here too. In fact, it performed better than the actual PlayStation Portal. The low bitrate on the PlayStation Portal often results in noisy pixels that fog up the screen as you lose detail in the game. I did notice this much less on the abxylute 1. If Steam ran at 28,000 kilobytes per second of video bitrate, the PS app is likely 20,000 kilobytes. The Portal is then likely 15,000 kilobytes per second. The input lag was pretty much on par with the PS Portal device though, so it seems that it isn't a problem with the devices itself, but the PS5. There was nothing else I could test unfortunately. Due to the lack of cloud streaming in my country, this abxylute 1 is just an emulator and a remote player. But I did kind of enjoy it. The display here is the best part. The 7-inch panel is bright and vivid and it really helped deliver games at the best of the device's streaming capabilities. Steam was of course the best experience here as the bitrate resulted in a sharp and clear image. The speakers were also decent. They are likely on par with every other handheld on the market, meaning they are just okay, but they do get the job done. They can get quite loud and they are clear, but they do lack some bass and power.
My name is Liko. I came to Indigo Academy in the Kanto region, hoping to learn more about myself.
The battery life is also great. You'll get well into the 15-hour mark here if you are cautious about the screen brightness. Native gaming, however, such as emulation, will only see the device last for around 5 hours. With the abxylute 1 Pro around the corner, I'm keen to see where the brand takes that handheld. This non-Pro model is a good device in the best of both worlds scenario. If you can cloud stream, that's great for you, but if you're restricted to remote gaming, this handheld does hold up. But I do kind of want a bit more power from the native emulation feature, which is likely where the Pro would suit my tastes. So those are my thoughts on the abxylute 1. Are you looking to pick this device up? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're here, please do consider liking and subscribing for future content like this, and visit glitch.online for more gaming tech news and reviews. Until next time, farewell.